What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there.
How's it going?
How we doing today, Casino?
Oh, that's your line. Yeah, no, everything's going all right. Everything's going okay. This is a retake, take
Yes.
number 2. But no, yeah, we should be good. I got a lot of sleep last night. That's a false statement. No, we're doing really good. But the wife and I were able to just take the one kid out. My mom had the other, so we went to play trivia with some friends. Pretty good time. Pretty good, and we finished in the better half of the trivia teams. So
Bam.
feeling pretty good. Felt pretty good about that. Out of it was, I don't know, probably about 15 teams. We were probably like 5th or 6th. I'm
Not bad.
not bad. Like, who knew? I contributed to like 3 questions. One of them actually was Mari Cooper. Which team did he just sign to? And I was like, give it to me. I know it. Nobody else knew it. So that made me really happy. And then I yelled at him and I said, you would know this if you watched the podcast. And they were like, you have a podcast? And I was like, yeah, I got a podcast.
Yeah. Not only do you have a podcast, you have the only sports podcast, Casino.
Yeah, pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the color is different on our little banners at the bottom, and that's because our next 3 episodes, we're a week away from Halloween, so they're going to all be very spooky episodes, Casino.
They look the same to me.
And when we get to the power rankings, when we get to the NFL picks, you'll see what spooky I'm talking about. That's a tease. Also, Casino's Corner, the spookiest ever edition, is happening at the end of this episode. But beforehand, Casino.
Yeah, we just talk about NHL.
The spookiest, scariest thing that could happen in the NFL was the Chiefs getting better. And that's exactly what they did. DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Chiefs for a 2025 fifth round conditional draft pick. So it could, I think, move up to as good as a 4th round pick. So basically, they got at most a 4th round pick, at least a 5th round pick traded to the Titans to get DeAndre Hopkins.
You think he's still worth that?
That is the good question because
he hasn't done anything.
Well, we talked about him. Remember, we talked about him on our first off-season episodes we did where he went from the Cardinals to the Titans, and we put him in the category of there's guys who want to get paid and there's guys who want to win. And he was in the get paid category, which no fault to him, to his own. If he get that money, I don't care.
Get the bag, as the kids say.
Yeah, but we put him in that category, and then that's where he was on the Titans. He was having Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill throw to him, and he had a good season 2 years ago. This year, and I think last year, was nothing special.
So no. Last year with the Titans, he had 75 receptions for 1,057 yards, 7 touchdowns.
So better than I thought.
Yeah, this year though, 15 receptions, 173 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, he is on the older side. He's been in the league since 2013. So,
right. And yeah, but you say he's on the older side. He's 32. He was born in 92.
Yeah. On the older side.
We're older than him.
Well, I was looking it up.
That's crazy thought. We're older than him.
We're older than him, and he's considered old by NFL standards.
Yeah.
But I know at no point in our life could you and I ever play in the NFL. I know personally at 34.
Maybe a kicker. Okay.
Okay.
I used to have a decent leg. Not anymore. No, that's why when I start playing soccer again, it's going to be goalie. I got no foot on me anymore.
And you know what? I could definitely be a placeholder in the NFL for you to kick. I could definitely do that.
No, you're just gonna Charlie Brown me the entire goddamn time.
Yeah, I don't have to be good at it. But the crazy thing is DeAndre Hopkins, 6'1", 212 pounds. So him and I are basically the exact same size, and he's 2 years younger than me. So maybe.
Yet he looks like he would murder you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, no, I could never play in the NFL. But what I'm saying is specifically at 34 right now, it hurts when I get out of the bed Like, there's no way I could play in the NFL
Well,
right now. So
his body's a temple, and we've been treating ours like shit, so
that's true. That's very true. But yeah, so this
I
I
just
do
had loaded
think
nachos 2 nights ago and
which were good.
tacos and drinks at 1 AM.
Yeah, which we're living the dream. But I do think that he will be an improvement for the Chiefs, but I don't think like people are treating him like he's going to go to the Chiefs and just all of a sudden be wide receiver one, best wide receiver in the league. Like, I don't think he's that guy anymore. I think he's a solid wide receiver two. I don't think he can be number one, especially when he's going to have to go against, even in that division. Chargers defense is good. Broncos defense might be best in the league. Like, if you just have to shut him out, we haven't really seen that many good Travis Kelsey games this season. And then Worthy,
He's
I
getting that good
know.
he's getting that good lay.
Yeah. But Worthy, we talked about at the beginning of the season where it was like, oh, this guy is going to be like a game changing game breaker. He has like two plays a game. One of them never works. One of them never works as good as you think it does. And then it's kind of like, but then again, the Chiefs offense has been nothing this season. As long as the Chiefs defense keeps doing what they're doing, they'll be still the best team in the league. Like, I don't even think it's with a question.
No, yeah, like, we talked about their schedule last week, they're just gonna keep rolling. This
Yeah.
only makes them better.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't
Their
make them
only chance of
worse.
not repeating, undefeated is gonna be going into the playoffs, and hopefully one of those AFC teams can beat them.
Yeah. Next up, Casino, we have our power rankings, the only sports podcast power rankings, and I have our first spooky video. It's time, Casino, for oh no, why is my video not working? No.
It's so spooky!
Oh, this is gonna bum me out if my video doesn't work. I literally just oh, there we go. It is time for the only sports podcast power rankings. That's spooky, right?
Wow.
And then the happy Halloween gets put in there to fuck it up. But yeah, it's time for our only sports power rankings, Casino.
How long
You
did that take you to do?
just wait. It is time for our power rankings. Now, Casino's number 10. Oh, wait, I gotta. You have the Eagles. I mean, we're just diving right into it, Casino. This
I
is,
love it.
but go on, Casino. You have number 10. Also, if you're watching only audio version this week, you're going to be less spooked because it's very spooky. The images we're seeing here. But Casino, for your number 10, you have my Philadelphia Eagles. Why?
Because I liked what Saquon Barkley did last week. You talked about you got your main players back. There's honestly 10 through like 17 to me are all the same team personally. So I'm just gonna throw it. I like what Barkley did. Um, I still think this team with that win, I think they're gonna be solid enough to be 10. Like that's honestly all I got. The emergence of Saquon Barkley with that game against a decent defense. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And
That's all I got.
I do not have them on my
I know
list.
you don't.
I still need to see one more week from them.
You have Seahawks.
We'll see. Next up, Casino, your number 9 on the list. It is the Houston Texans.
Yes, it is the Texans because we alluded to it in multiple weeks leading up to this. They are slightly off. There's something wrong. Last week was CJ Stroud's worst game that he's ever had. He did get sacked 4 times. He only had 89 yards or whatever it was. It's not good. But that's his offensive line. His offensive line let him down. They were banged up. That was a tough game. They were still able to get no, they lost. Right. Right. They lost. So I was thinking of a different week. But I'm not worried about it. All in all, they're still in the top 10. They're still a good team. It's just every week they just feel like they need to show me more. And that's what I'm waiting for. I don't think last week was a bad week for the team. or for CJ Stroud, but it was for the team. Sorry, I'm getting all my things crossed. Um, but yeah, we'll be okay. They'll be okay. I
I
need to
do
see more. I need to see more, but they're okay.
I do think this week, Colts at Texans, I do think it's a bit of a trap game.
That's
I
fair.
am a little scared for the Texans just this week specifically. But your number 8 team, Casino, will make one of our viewers definitely happy because you're finally giving them the respect they deserve, and that is the Steelers.
Ugh,
Oh no, Casino, the NFL logos are haunted. They're
they're spinning.
possessed. They're possessed by an entity. Okay, go on.
Wow. I mean, no, that's pretty good. I like that. That's. I mean, it's a wheel. It's doing its thing. All right. Well, Steelers.
Spinning. Yeah.
Um, you can't. You can't. Ah, man. With the Steelers, I want to hate on them so much, and I want.
We know on this
I
podcast,
do,
we know.
but here's the thing: is because I want them to be better. I get what Steelers fans talk about, and I know I've defended their coach many times, but at this point, are they ever going to just not have a winning season? I mean, are they super elite? No. I mean, did Russell have a good second half? Yeah, his like to start the game, he was really awful. Like his
Yeah.
percentage was really, really garbage, and then he got it going. So we'll see how that goes. They still got the W. They're 5-2. Um, yeah, I just can't. I
Steelers
don't
right
know.
now, 8th in the
It's
league in
it's
total
so
defense.
roughing. It's
Uh, but I
sorry, as you guys can tell, I'm a little tired. I'm trying to get my words put together here. I
it's
know
a
what I want to say up here
I
in the
sense
brain.
I sense no different from any other episode.
Well, thank you.
But I will give credit to the Steelers defense, number 8th in the league, but also sneaky good defense this year. Eagles, number 9. So your 10th pick, looking pretty good, Casino. Next up, your beloved. I will say, with the Patriots being this bad this season, I do think this is your team this season, and that is the Washington Commanders.
Yes, the Washington Commanders. They are 5-2. We had them losing last week, but or 2 weeks ago. Gosh darn, man, I'm all over the place. They did win last week, even with Marcus Mariota. But I'm like 1 week ahead.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I forgot about last week, apparently. Anyway, with the Commanders, I'm worried with I know Jaden Daniels, he's not going to be clear to play. He hasn't been playing or going to practice, this and that. They're going to give him another week. So Marcus Mariota is going to go up against Chicago. That does worry me. And if Jaden Daniels comes back and takes another big hit, you've talked about it all season. That's what scares you. If he takes another big hit, which this one was to the ribs, we'll see that that's continuous trauma in the same spot. That's going to slow a quarterback down over the course of the season.
Yeah.
This game I am worried about for the Commanders. The Bears are actually favored in this.
That's
So I
insane.
do have I know we'll get into the picks here, but with the power rankings, I have them there because I'm worried about Jaden Daniels getting hurt.
Well, the Bears are probably favored in this game because Daniels isn't playing it,
Correct.
right? Yes. Okay.
Correct.
So that's a
Um,
little less sketch.
True, but I mean, and then with all the other teams coming up, I just I couldn't put the Commanders any higher than all the rest of the 6 teams that are coming up.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Let's go, Casino, to number 6, and that is
The
the
Buffalo
Buffalo
Bills.
Bills.
Ooh, oh man, they're see-through.
They're
That
spooky.
they're spooky. Buffalo Bills, you were concerned that Josh Allen had to do a lot by himself. Well, Amari Cooper's in. He looked good coming in. Just give him time with this offense, and you give um, Josh Allen somebody to throw to since they've lost Diggs. I think it's going to work. I think Amari Cooper is going to fit with this system well. I know Cooper can be somewhat of a distraction sometimes, especially coming from Dallas and those teams. But I do think that this is going to fit. This is going to help out Josh Allen. This is only going to make them better. And I think a 6 is a safe spot for them.
Yeah. I would agree. I think that is a good what is it? Good space for them, especially they've played some weird games, and we talked about it last episode where they're only losing to bad teams, or they're only beating bad teams, only losing to good teams, which is always my concern.
That is,
Next
yeah.
up, Casino, we have, if I can find it, we have your number 5 team, the spooky Green Bay Packers.
I like him. Jordan Love is playing well. This team is young. They're feisty. Their defense is really nice. Um, I was concerned with him coming back and seeing if he was going to still be able to play well, even with Malik Willis, getting a few victories there. I was concerned with Love coming back, but he seems to be legit. He seems to be the quarterback for that franchise. They finally got it right. I mean, when I say they finally got it right, they've always gotten it right.
Yeah.
However, he seems normal, I guess. Um, but they did it again. I think the money was a little too much still for me. You know how my feelings are on that. However, I do think 6 is a great spot for them. I like their defense. Their offense is very feisty, especially with their running back. Why am I blanking on his name?
Josh
Josh
Jacobs.
Jacobs. Jinx, spooky Jinx. So I do like this team, and I think 5 is a good spot for him because these next 4, I think, are the 4 teams that have the best shot of winning the Super Bowl.
Also, it's Jinkies Casino because spooky, Scooby Doo, Halloween. You
You're an
missed a
idiot.
wide open layup right there.
I did.
But also, Jordan Love, like 3 weeks ago, his completion percentage was around like 50. Now, with 3 good games under his belt in a row, it shot all the way up to almost 62%. So the one question mark we had was what happened to his accuracy? Well, it looks like whatever that was all injury related because now it looks like he's finally back to what we saw at the end of the year. So, yeah. Also 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not bad. Next up, Casino, your number 4, same division, NFC North. You have the spooky Minnesota Vikings.
I do have the Minnesota Vikings. This team, they're getting somebody back this week that they need, which is TJ Hawkinson.
Oh,
That's only gonna add to Sam Darnold. Um, this is gonna be a great addition to this team. This is just gonna make this team better. I mean, hell, if they had him against the Lions, that could have easily gone there in their favor. Um, this team's only gonna get better from here on out because I've been telling you that's a massive weapon, security blanket. He's a big target. Just put it in that vicinity, and majority of the time, Hawkinson's going to pull that down, or at least bat it down. Not let the interception happen.
yeah.
So huge for this team. And then there's also talks that Adam Thielen at the trade deadline might be leaving the Panthers and going back to the purple and going back to the Vikings. And if that happens, I know Thielen hasn't really shown much, but I mean, how can you when you've been in you know, fucking uh,
The
Panthers.
Panthers, Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Carolina Panthers. So I mean, hell, you get Hawkinson back, you get Thielen at the deadline. That's just adding 2 more weapons to Sam Darnold. Like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, even if Thielen comes in and he's like your number 3,
That's true.
I'd much rather have him. I'd much
Well,
rather have him than not have him.
what have you thought about this weird rumor that's been circulating around that there is a potential Sam Darnold for Matthew Stafford trade in the works right now?
So Stafford's going to be gone. Like Stafford is going to be leaving the Rams, and that mainly has to do with salary cap
Hmm.
issues.
Yeah.
And because they're going to be on a rebuild, and so it's just going to hurt them to keep Stafford around when they have to fill in all these other pieces. So basically, you're going to be paying this quarterback, and you're not going to be going anywhere. So you might as well get rid of him. This is their logic. Just get rid of him. Get the great picks for him. Build another team. You won the Super Bowl. You did what you need to do. Now move off of him. Move off of
Yeah.
him. Get some picks for him while he's still relevant, and because you're gonna have to you have to rebuild all your other pieces. So
Yeah.
That's talks about him leaving. Wherever he goes, he goes. Um, but I mean, hell, you throw Stafford in here, he oh,
Yeah.
that would be crazy though, because going to the Vikings, your old rival, that would
Dude,
be
if
nuts.
if he's the reason the Lions don't make it to a Super Bowl when they've had the best chance probably this year and last year to make it to a Super Bowl, uh, that
I
would
will tell you right
be a
now,
double-edged sword.
if Stafford and Thielen both at trade deadline end up in Minnesota, how can you not say they're not going to, be a Super Bowl favorite, or
Yeah.
like even over the Chiefs? Like you're just adding two dynamic weapons. I mean, Adam Thielen, old dynamic, but still.
Yeah. And I mean, really, when you look at the potential teams that like need a quarterback that are contenders now, there's really not any. Like
Mm-mm.
every good team that's a contender right now pretty much has their
They
quarterback.
have their quarterback.
And I mean, the Vikings, we like what we've seen with Sam Darnold, but because it is Halloween, when do we think he turns back into a pumpkin? Or do we just think he's just great now forever? Like, I really like Sam Darnold, but again, if he has a great season, I still wouldn't be like, now we're giving him 5 years, $250 million. Like, there's no fucking way.
Well, we didn't think that there was going to be a way where Jordan Love got paid for half
Yeah,
a season.
yeah, but we talked about that. Neither of us would have done that. Like, neither of us would have.
Doesn't matter. Things like that are happening in this
Yeah.
in this NHL, in this NFL.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so things like that happen. Anyway, so this team is legit, and they're only going to get better.
Well, and we just mentioned them, Casino. Your number 3 team is the Detroit Lions.
That was the win. That was the win they needed, was against the Vikings, to
Yeah.
show me that they're ready. So, that grit that Jared Goff came back and got his team back into field goal range, for at the end of that game, outstanding. Like, Dan Campbell, just call a better game, just make sure you don't fuck it up at the end, and the Super Bowl could be yours, man. Like, you'll be facing the Chiefs in the
Ugh.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody wanted to see them there last year. I myself think they could have beaten that Chiefs team last year.
I think they would have beaten that Chiefs team.
Yeah, I do as well. The only thing that concerns me with them, especially being this high, because I think they might be 3 on my list as well, is just their defense. Number 18th in the league.
Right. We'll see what they do. There's talks about them picking up players around the league. We'll see. Like one being Uchi, from the Pats. We'll see if that happens. There's players out there for them that are on the free agency block for them to pick up. Are they going to be the guy they just lost,
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson? Thank you, man. Woo! All over the place. But not they will never be to his caliber because he was in line for defensive player of the year um to that point. So we'll see. We'll see. They're definitely
Yeah.
going to make some moves. I think they would be insane not to make some defensive moves coming here, especially since they are a Super Bowl contender.
Also, I feel like the most obvious destination and pickup and trade of all time before the trade deadline approaches is get Crosby from the Raiders, put him on this Lions team to replace for Hutchinson. Next year, when Hutch comes back, you have one of them on each
Yep,
end, and you're
Crosby is
just
another one there. Yep,
yeah,
totally.
that just seems like a no-brainer pick. Next up, Casino, we are down to your final 2 on the power rankings. And of course, it is quote the Ravens, nevermore. Your number 2 pick. Talk to us.
Uh, they have the best rushing in the league. They are a top tier offense. Their defense is looking pretty dang good as well. Um, I like this team, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the Chiefs are the Chiefs, that they are undefeated, that they have the refs on their side, um, it's true. We all know it. Let's just not kid around ourselves anymore. Um, with that aside, I would say that I think the Ravens are the best team, but in power rankings, you have to put the undefeated Chiefs first. You
Yeah.
just you have to. Even with Mahomes's MVP, non-MVP season that he's having, but apparently MVP season just because he's undefeated. Like you can't put them away. That defense is really, really good. That defense is outstanding. And now with them getting D Hop, I mean, we'll just kind of put them together here. Going to the Chiefs as my number one, do the little thingy. Uh, Chiefs number one, get adding D Hop is just it's another player, wide receiver two, somewhere in that realm. Like it, it's going to be very tough for any team to beat this team, especially in the regular season when they have cupcakes for the rest of the year, outside of like 2 games.
Yeah. Right now, the Chiefs have the 10th overall defense in the league. I personally think they're better than that. You can throw on them, but you can't run on them at all. They have the fourth best running defense in the league, and so that would be, I think, the way to beat the Chiefs, if there is a way, is you have to have an elite offense and a defense that is comparable to them. Right. So, right now, if we are looking at the top 10 defenses in the league, let's just go AFC. Titans, they don't have a stellar offense at all. Texans would be number two. We made the case last week that Texans really do feel like the only team that left that can beat the Chiefs, and we'll see them play later in the season. And then after that, I mean, it's Broncos. I don't think their offense is dynamic enough, but we'll see them play the Chiefs twice this year. Dolphins, obviously, with all the Tua stuff, I don't think their offense is nearly as good as it has been the past couple of years. And then the other three teams are Jets, Chargers, Steelers. Chargers, we saw just lose a 10-point lead to the, or I would think it was it was a 10-point lead to the Chiefs and get their hearts ripped out. So Chargers, I think, are out. Jets, we'll see if their offense finally clicks with Devontae Adams, but I don't think so. And then Steelers, I really do feel like Steelers and Texans are the wild cards in the AFC that can officially end this Chiefs three-peat dream. Thoughts on that, Casino?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Honestly, I
Yeah,
mean,
buddy. Or because it's
yep,
Halloween, and nail through the head.
yep.
And we move on. And now it is time for my power rankings, Casino. And I already threatened you with this. And you know what? Looking at the teams, I did it because it is, in fact, the Seahawks and the Broncos at number 10. We just,
Wow, doubling it up.
I'm doubling it up at number 10.
You want to see something really spooky?
Yes.
Drinking out of the carton.
Ugh, apple juice. That's weird. But Casino, we have for my power rankings at number 10, I have both the Broncos and the Seahawks at number 10. I don't understand why I got so much shit for the Seahawks. They started the season 4-0, lost or no, they started the season.
Because are the Seahawks good, or is it Geno Smith can just fling the ball?
Yes, I think the Seahawks are good. Again, with most teams on this list, it's all about defense. They have the 21st ranked defense in the league right now. But however, Geno Smith is really good. I like their offense, especially it looks like DK Metcalf won't miss, like he didn't tear an ACL or anything like that. So it looks like he'll be back for this season. He might miss a game or two, but I like their offensive identity. I like their offensive weapons. I think, again, their defense was the worst in the league last year, and now they're around the 20s. So they've gotten a better defense. Their offense is dynamic. Geno Smith right now is leading the league in passing. And again, how many Seahawks games have you and I watched where we both go walking away from that game going like, man, Geno Smith looks good. Like he
Because he
looks
does
good.
look good.
Yeah, so I trust Geno Smith and the Seahawks. And then for the Broncos, it's basically just their defense. And apologies to the guys who I shit on their Broncos are going to be better than you think.
No, just
Because
shit
the
on him. It's great.
Broncos,
It's fun. It's the Broncos.
total defense right now, third in the league. They're the fifth best rushing or passing defense and the 10th best rushing defense in the league. They're all their offense when it comes to Bo Nix. He doesn't turn the ball over. He makes plays with his legs. He has a cannon for an arm. I mean, this whole Broncos thing, it's working. Like they just played their best game on Thursday night. This week they go against the Panthers. So this is going to be a 5-3 team going into the second half of the season. And again, you can go far in this league if you have an elite defense, which they do. Next up, Casino, my number 9 pick, as I stall to find it. Your team, not the Patriots, but the Commanders.
Still giving them hate.
I again, well, they're just they're 5-2. I think they're both better than the Broncos and the
They're
Seahawks,
five
but
and two, and the one of their losses against the Ravens on the road.
yeah, but again, my issues with them are Jaden Daniels. And the issues I have are what I've been talking about since the beginning of the season, which is he gets banged up every game. And now all of a sudden he's out and he's got an injury. And who knows if this is going to be his first one this year? Who knows how long this keeps him out? Again, it's a rib injury. And you always hear about rib injuries. It's like it never gets better, it just gets sore. So he's now just going to have compromised ribs for the rest of the season. And again, much like the Seahawks, their defense scares me. It's getting better. It was progressively getting better. Now it's kind of stuck in the middle, right around where the Seahawks are. So how long can they go with an injured quarterback? Mariota looked good for 1 week, but we'll see this week if he is fool's gold. And as an Eagles fan, I will tell you, I am scared rooting for Marcus Mariota because I've seen the worst of him.
But he's fun to watch.
Next up, Casino, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And basically, I think honestly they might be too low on my list, but I couldn't put them above anybody else on my list. Number
So what
8.
you're saying is they're right where they need to be.
Yeah, basically. But I could, if somebody want to make a case, they were
No, they're
better
eight on
than
both.
8.
They're 8 on both of our lists. That's where they stay.
Yeah. So they have, speaking of 8th, they have the 8th best total defense in the league. We both like Justin Fields, but I got to admit, Russell Wilson gave him a little bit of a spark. So now all of a sudden they have Najee Harris as the running back. They have a formidable offense. George Pickens catches anything in his vicinity. Now they can do the deep ball. They do lose some of the dynamic kind of playmaking ability without Justin Fields. He's not, Russell Wilson is a shell of himself when it comes to running past the line of scrimmage. So yeah,
Just
Pittsburgh Steelers.
just make him the backup running back or something,
That'd be
Fields.
fantastic. Fantastic. Next up, Casino, making their first appearance on my list. I feel like I've been sleeping on them, and then I finally awoken to the enigma that is the Green Bay Packers.
Thank you.
They are finally on my list. Last time it was an oversight, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not. And then all of a sudden we saw 3 weeks of just Jordan Love being Jordan Love and what they paid him for and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, again, their offense is dynamic. Josh Jacobs looks rejuvenated from when he was on the Raiders, and he just looked like an injury prone kind of former shell of himself. But turns out when you play for bad teams, you don't want to play that often. And then when you're on a good team, all of a sudden you're,
When you're
lighting it up.
protected.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a competent offensive line. Right now, the total defense of the Packers is 15th. And I really do think you need to be a top 15 defense to do anything in the playoffs. So dynamic
Have a shot.
defense, yeah, top 15 defense in the league, and you got a shot. And again, Love, we were concerned if he would bounce back from his injury, and he looks like he bounced back pretty good. But next up, Casino, from the Packers, we go to the AFC and we pick the Buffalo Bills. Again, the thing that scares me with the Buffalo Bills is we haven't seen them beat anybody good this season, and the only teams they have beat are bad records. But again, you only play who's on your schedule, and who has been on their schedule, they have a 5-2 record against. So they didn't look good against the Ravens. They didn't look good against the Texans. But I do think this is a prove it game for me this week against the Seahawks because if they go into Seattle and just blow them out, again, that's what maybe the farthest, if you're not going to an overseas game, the farthest away game you can have is going from Buffalo, New York to Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
So,
Just fly over Canada.
yeah. So I do think that is potentially and probably my pick for best game of the week. Bills Seahawks.
We'll get to that. Calm down.
Yeah, and
Know your role.
I do think for both those teams it's a prove it game because if Seahawks all of a sudden blow out the Bills like every other good team they've played, maybe the Seahawks are switching to number 6 with the Bills. But next up Casino, especially on my list. Next up Casino, it is oh my god, it's so spooky. JoJo
Ah.
Siwa. She's invaded our list Casino and she's doing the scariest thing possible. She's dancing.
Uh,
Uh, oh my god, we gotta get her out of here. So, number 5 on my list
dude,
is
that was a true terror. Oh my god.
uh, woo, number 5 on my list, Casino.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, it is. The
Now
Houston
people
Texans.
know how I really feel about without even me saying it, you know how I feel about that person. Ugh.
We can't even say her name because she's like Beetlejuice. You say it 3
Yeah.
times and she just comes back in. But Casino, we have oh, I just removed it from the thing. But my number what, we're on 5? My number
Yeah.
5 team was the Houston Texans. And again, by all accounts, they should be higher on my list. But as we've mentioned ad nauseum at this point, something is off with the Texans. And I don't know what it is, but when you watch the games, you can feel something is off with them. And again, they
I
have
mean,
a
they say JoJo Siwa.
yeah, they say it too many times in the mirror and now it's cursed their team. But they that being said, they're 5-2 right now. They are what they used to be top 5 in everything. They slid a little bit to where they're closer to top 10 in everything. So that scares me because again, they're winning games. Their record looks great, but their stats in almost every category keep falling back. And again, we shit all over Caleb Williams when he had less than 100 yards passing. The last game CJ Stroud played, he had 80 something yards passing in an entire football game. So something is off. I do think the
Yeah, it was
Colts
called
are
that
in a trap
offensive
game.
line protecting him, who allowed him to get sacked 4 times.
Yeah, but again, that all factors in. They also lost Nico Collins for a significant amount of time. So I just don't trust them. And again, if the Colts were led by Joe Flacco this week, I'd pick them straight up to beat the Texans. But because it's Anthony Richardson, I'm still like, maybe. The Texans will probably win, but still, I think that might be upset of the week. Next up, Casino. I have my number 4 team, the Minnesota Vikings. We talked about it even in a loss against the Lions last week. They still look pretty good, still came down to the wire, still look like they could hang with arguably the best team in the AF or in the NFC right now. Maybe if the Chiefs didn't exist, the best team in the NFL right now in the Detroit Lions. But yeah, with the Vikings, again, I like what Sam Darnold is doing right now. He's playing good. But if they did trade for Matthew Stafford, I feel like the Vikings would be nose to nose with the Chiefs, like you just said. So we'll see if that actually happens. I doubt it will, but if it does, we got to do an emergency podcast because that'll be huge. That'll be a big
We'll do it live. Fuck it,
we'll
we'll
do
do it live.
we'll do it live. I pressed the wrong button. So next up, Casino. We go from number 4 to number 3,
You
and
sound parched. You need some apple juice?
I do need some more tea. We have number 3 is the Baltimore Ravens.
Hmm.
It would be a toss up right now between the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions. But again, I've seen the Ravens lose in a weird game to the Raiders. So that left a bad taste in my mouth. Now, I know, again, that
But
was,
they were also a toenail away from taking the Chiefs to overtime and possibly winning that game. You know, they're the only team that has honestly gone blow for blow, I think, with the Chiefs, if my memory serves me right. So
yeah.
that's why I have the Ravens at 2.
But again, I think the only thing separating the Lions and Ravens right now is the Ravens defense is not only not good, it's bad. They have a bad defense right now. It is 24th in the league in total defense. Again, I think you have to be top 15. The Lions aren't there yet. They're at
I don't think
18.
that. You wanna know why? This is so my reasoning on that is Patrick Mahomes, even against mediocre defenses, is not playing well. That offense is not playing well. So you just need a team that can out-bruise and outscore Patrick Mahomes. And I think that is the Ravens with King Henry beating the shit out of him and
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson being dynamic enough to, do something in the play action and taking it to him. These are my reasons. Yes, you're right. The defense isn't that great, but if it's just mediocre enough to beat Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't had a good season, there you go. Like if that offense stays the same over in Kansas City, then that's why I think the Ravens have a real shot against them. That's why I put them 2. I
But see,
understand why you're
this
putting them
is
3.
Yeah, this is my counter to that. The way the Ravens have had to win all their games so far this season, they've had to score 28 points, 35 points, 41 points, 30 points, 41 points. So they've had to be an elite offense every week. And then the weeks where they don't get over 30, they've lost. They couldn't beat a bad Raiders team and they only scored
Okay, well
23 points. They couldn't beat the Kansas City Chiefs and they only scored 20 points. So again, when you see even the playoff game last year, that elite offense got 17 points and their defense couldn't stop the Chiefs. So it's one of those things where all it takes is one bad offensive game for this Ravens team, and they're not even losing. They're getting blown out because their defense can't stop anybody. So that's what I'm saying. They basically have to play perfect football from week 9 till the Super Bowl to be legit contenders. Now, I do think that's more likely than it's not. That's why I have them at number 3, but I still have question marks about all the AFC teams that are supposedly contenders to the Chiefs. Next up, Casino, I just mentioned it. The Detroit Lions, I have them at number 2 for basically the reasons I just said. Their defense, uh, I wouldn't say significantly, but they're definitely better than the Ravens. Their offense is both pretty much dynamic as well. Only difference between the Ravens offense and the Lions defense is Lions have a great passing and running attack. I feel like Ravens have great running attack and pretty good passing attack, right? I don't think there's really any Ravens wide receiver right now that scares you. Mark Andrews is just gone. He's their starting tight end and he just does nothing. They don't give him targets. He doesn't get yards. I haven't seen a Mark Andrews sighting all season, so that scares me. But yeah.
They have the other tight ends. They have Likely. They have, whoever the other guy is.
And then of course, number one, until somebody beats them, until they aren't undefeated, it is, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. And this has been and again, we don't even have to say why. They have Patrick Mahomes, they have Andy Reid, they have probably the best defense in the league. They just got better with DeAndre Hopkins. How much better, we'll see. But that has been our week 8 power rankings. And really, when it comes to the show's power rankings, Casino, I didn't put anything together, but we pretty much have the same medley of teams kind of in that top 7. It's
That works.
just basically where you want to put them. So, yeah,
Top 4 is the same, and then from there, it's close.
yeah. But let's move on, Casino. We'll go from college over to let me just delete that. We'll go over from NFL briefly to college, and then we'll get our NFL picks, Casino's Corner, and get out of here. But for college football week 9, Casino, there's obviously one game on our minds that is very important to us specifically, and that is UNLV Boise State. Make your predictions for how that game goes.
Whew. Honestly, I think UNLV has a shot of doing this. And the reason I'm saying that, Boise State is favored currently. I think 3.5 is where I last saw the line. But obviously, it's stop the run. If you stop Boise State, if you stop the Heisman Trophy candidate with Gentry, Ashton Gentry, you have a shot. And looking as I was reading up on it, UNLV, their defense is really good. First off, like it has been. The reason they lost to Syracuse is that was the number one passing offense at that time. I don't know if it still is, and they struggled in their secondary. That's always been UNLV's the last 2 seasons under Barry Odom. That's been their issue, even though they got better. But UNLV has the 20th best rushing defense in college football. This is going to be the best rushing defense that Ashton Gentry's gone up against. So I'm sure, and then this is not to take away from Nelson, their quarterback, or not Nelson, Maddox. Nothing to take away from him because he has good numbers. Let's see where his stats are. I just had him up. Oops. I'll pull it up in a bit. Nothing to take away from him, but because he's had a decent season over the arms as I'm I'm pulling it up here. Jeez. Basically, UNLV, if they can stop the run, they've got a shot. I like this team, their defense. I've been watching them all year. I think they're tied in the nation for interceptions. This team is really good. So yeah, so pulling it up, he's got 12 touchdowns through the air, 1,273 yards with only 2 interceptions. So Maddox, he's had a really good season so far. But I just think UNLV is the more complete team. Um, I think they can pull it off. It's going to be close. It's going to be really fun to watch. But this is for the college football playoffs. Yes, Army and Navy. Navy now being ranked in the top 25. They are currently 24. They are going against Notre Dame, even though they're at home this week against Notre Dame. I still have Notre Dame beating Navy. I think Notre Dame finally figures some shit out. So that's gonna, be a notch on their belt to, losing one. So I really still think it just the quality of teams that Boise State and UNLV has had to play this season. That whoever wins this game, if UNLV wins, whoever wins the Mountain West tournament is going to go, whether it's Boise or UNLV, because it's going to be those two teams in the Mountain West championship, unless something crazy happens. If UNLV loses this game, Boise State, obviously you have to win the Mountain West, but they could probably lose one to like San Jose State or whatever if they haven't already played them. So we'll see how this goes. So yeah, you have Navy, Notre Dame. I mean, we're just going to kind of move on over to those.
God, I wish we could both go to this game because tickets for this game are not bad. Not
No.
bad at all.
No. This is the most important game in UNLV history.
Why couldn't this game have been Saturday day instead of Friday night? Then we could have gone because
I probably still wouldn't have been able to. Saturday is my work's anniversary party, and even though I close, they will probably be calling me in early. They said be available. So,
but
it'd be nuts.
also when we talk about Genty for Boise State, last year he had 220 carries for 1,300, basically 50 yards and 14 touchdowns. This year, on 126 carries, almost half the carries he had last year, he already is at 1,250 yards and 17 touchdowns. That is insane.
Well, when you give him the ball that often, when you run him the way you're running him, he's gonna tire out. Like,
yeah,
he's not gonna have bad numbers, towards the end of the season, but he will tire out. That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
Right now, it is Boise State predicted to win 60% to 40%. So we'll
It's
see.
close.
We'll see.
So yeah, there's a lot of good games this week. You have Ole Miss, the Rebels versus at home against Oklahoma. That should be a good game. I know Oklahoma's not ranked right now, but Ole Miss is at 18, so that should be fun. One that I will be watching a lot is today. Oddly enough, is a Thursday game. You have Syracuse going into Pittsburgh, ranked 19 Pittsburgh. Syracuse, I want them to win that game so bad because if Syracuse wins that game, they will jump into the top 25, I'm sure, because they're right there. They're right ahead of UNLV in the voting. I think last I saw it was 27th and 28th with their, counting the votes up to 30, they show the little votes on the bottom is
Yeah.
where Syracuse UNLV is. So if Syracuse wins, they go up. If UNLV beats Boise State as well, that should automatically, jump UNLV and Syracuse into the top 25.
You think
Um,
if UNLV beats Boise State falls out of the top 25?
no,
I don't think so either.
I don't either, especially if UNLV does jump into the top 25.
Yeah,
And if Syracuse wins tonight and Syracuse and UNLV jump in the top 25, you lost to a team whose only loss is against another ranked team.
true.
They're all playing against ranked essentially teams.
Yeah.
Um, so then you have the Notre Dame Navy game. I will be watching that pretty heavily. That's early at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. We also have the Huskies, who've played some good games this year, going into Indiana, 13th ranked Indiana. Um, let's see, we have Oregon and the Illini. You got Illinois going into
A
Oregon. That's going to be
again,
fun. I keep
sneaky trap game. Illinois
Sneaky
is good.
trap game. I'm really excited for that one. Um, y- yeah, you got Bama at 15 against Mizzou. I honestly think Bama's done. I think Mizzou will win this game.
Oh,
Truthfully,
shit.
dude, the last 3 games, Bama's been bad. They've lost two
Yeah.
of their last three. They've almost lost 3 of their last 3. Um, then you have Texas going into Vanderbilt, who's currently ranked 25. Scary for Texas. They got to have a bounce back game, but they're on the road. You also have LSU, 8th LSU playing 14th Texas A&M. That's going to be really good because Texas A&M, if they win there, they stay atop of that division with that Texas loss. So that'd be great. You have the fun, always fun. I like interstate games. You have Kansas versus Kansas State. That's always going to be fun. Kansas State's going to blow them out, but that'll still be
Whoa,
fun to. Oh yeah,
you're gonna blow them. Whoa.
yeah, they're going to absolutely destroy them, but it's going to be fun to watch. I like watching, so it's okay. Um, yeah, this is going to be a really, really fun week in college football. A lot of really good games, and these are all the ones that I'm just talking about that are top 25
Yeah.
FBS rankings. So
I do
this
think the
is going to be
games
a really, really fun weekend.
The games I'll be watching probably the most are Illinois, Oregon, Texas, Vanderbilt, because I think there's upset potential for them both, especially from what we've seen from Vanderbilt. They actually have a quarterback, like a good quarterback. So if you can beat Alabama, you can beat Texas, especially from what we saw from that Georgia game last week, where Ewers might be the reason that Texas doesn't win the national championship this game or this season, because when push came to shove, he was just Deshaun Watsoning throws just into the dirt. So he would concern me. I
So
think
which
Illinois.
out of all of these, what is your upset pick of the week?
I think I'm going Illinois, Oregon. I
There's
think,
going to be a lot of upsets this week, in my opinion. I think Syracuse can beat Pitt. I think
yeah,
UNLV can beat Boise State.
yeah,
Ouch. I think Oklahoma can beat Ole Miss. I think Illinois can beat Oregon. Um,
and I
and
think I
I
think
think
there's a
Mizzou
real
will
shot.
beat. I think Mizzou will beat Bama. And I think even though it's technically an upset, Texas A&M will beat LSU. Like I think this has got a lot of upsets coming up this week. I believe.
Yeah, a lot of reshuffling, especially of the top 25 after this week.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but Casino, we are running out of time, which means it is time now for, as I stall for the video, it is time, Casino, for our NFL picks, week 8 edition. And our NFL picks this week, Casino. I mean, when I looked at the marquee mid miserable matchups, this is the most miserable week 4 matchups. This is brutal. Brutal week.
Did you even make
Every
Marquee miserable? Marquee
yeah,
mid miserable?
Yeah, I literally I have 4 marquee matchups and 3 or 2 or 3 of them I feel like I'm stretching. Actually, you know what? Just speaking of that, I'm moving 1 down to mid. So now we have 3 marquee matchups, Casino.
Let's hear them.
The first one, it's my team, Eagles at Bengals, because
I
much like
agree.
you
This
know
is a good
what's
one.
you know what's so funny is it's funny when the Eagles beat the Giants, and then now the narrative is, of course they beat the Giants. The Giants are bad. The Giants suck. When the narrative before that game was Giants are going to beat the Eagles because the Giants' front seven is so good and their defense is so good.
Well, I don't think
And
the Giants suck. I'll just
well, but yeah, but that's now the narrative. The narrative now is like, well, of course the Eagles beat them. The Giants are bad. And then it was like 24 hours prior to that, everybody was like, the Giants are going to beat the Eagles because the Eagles are bad and the Giants are good. So funny how that flips when the game gets played, and then all of a sudden the Eagles blow out the Giants. But
Well, do you have
yeah,
your team winning today?
I do.
Or you do?
On my picks, I'm picking the Eagles to beat the Bengals strictly because I think the Bengals offensive line is abysmal. I think their defense is bad, and I think the Eagles now top 10 defense. I think Joey B is going to pick them apart, but I don't think the Bengals defense has anything to counter the run, the pass, anything when it comes to the Eagles. So yeah, I'm picking the Eagles. Bengals right now, 22nd in defense, and I believe their pass defense is 21st, and I think their running defense is slightly better. Where is it? Bengals.
Pull it up too.
Their pass defense and rush defense are both 21st in the league. So you can't stop the pass, you can't stop the run. Eagles now basically have all of their playmakers back except Dallas Goedert,
Mhm.
but the Calcutta, or however you say his name, has stepped up really
Kid
good.
Cudi?
Close. But yeah, I'm no longer doing reverse jinx. Now it's revenge tour casino, mostly against myself for doubting this team. And I'm sure I will change my tune if they lose this game. But for right now, I'm all on the Eagles bandwagon. And also, games are so shit this week. We're not even doing scores. We're just doing straight up picks, casino.
Cool.
So I'm going Eagles. Who you got?
I'm gonna go Eagles as well. Regardless how I feel about this, has to be the like Bengals have to win this game if they want their season to stay alive. Which it's dreadful, but they have to win this game. But I don't think they're going to be able to, just because, as you said, their defense and Eagles got all their weapons back.
Yeah, when you look at all the Bengals right now have a better defense or have a better offense just strictly based on passing, but it's almost the flip and reverse.
Flip it.
Eagles are the 27th
I
in the
pulled that
league in
move last night.
passing. There you go.
With you,
Eagles, yeah, no, that was 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago.
that's
Uh, but
see.
Eagles are 27th in passing, 6th in rushing. Bengals are 6th in passing and 26th in rushing. Only thing that really separates these two teams is the defenses are complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So I do think the Bengals offense will look good in this game, but I think the Eagles do enough to win. And we move on to our next game, Casino. This might not be a marquee matchup with all the injuries that happened on Monday night, but I put Falcons Bucks as a marquee matchup just because it's divisional, it's for first place in the division, and I know
This is the
people,
last time that these two play each other.
yeah, and I know both you and I, along with everybody else watching this game, is gonna be curious how the Buccaneers offense is without Mike Evans and Godwin. So who you got in this
I'm
one,
picking the
Casino?
Falcons. I think Kirk Cousins gets it done. They beat them last time in OT. Yes, they were in Atlanta and pulled that off. But again, losing both your top weapons is going to be devastating for our boy Baker Mayfield. So I'm going Falcons on this one. I think the Falcons will win this game. It'll solidify. They'll have two games over the Bucks, whether the Bucks can come back or not. You know, figure something out on offense via the deadline or whatever. It's not going to be enough. Could they still make the playoffs? Yes. If they get some pieces in there to replace those two receivers, but the Falcons are going to win this game.
Yeah. Pretty much agree with everything you just said. I do think the thing that's disappointed me most this season for pretty much all the teams is the Falcons defense and how they fell off so hard from what they were last year. But That's nothing compared to the Buccaneers, who have the 31st overall ranked defense right now. So their defense, again, is going to be what holds them back. Injuries are going to be the thing that puts the nail in their coffin. And yeah, this is we're right all along, Casino, even though there were some bumps in the road. This looks like the Falcons division running away now. But now we move to our last marquee matchup, Casino, and that is the probably game of the week, in my opinion. Should be the Sunday night football game. I don't know how it wasn't flexed into the Sunday night game over the Cowboys 49ers. But we have the 5-2 Bills at the 4-3 Seahawks. Who you got in this one, Casino?
I'm going to go with the Bills because of the acquisition of Amari Cooper. I like Geno Smith. I've liked him all year. I just have trouble with the Seahawks pulling it off against a team who I think is better.
Yeah, this is where we differ. I'm picking the
That's
Seahawks,
that's
Casino.
that's fine.
I think this
And
is
this is your
where
game of the week?
yes. Is it not yours? Is it not yours?
Uh no. Is it probably going to be the higher scoring of the two really good games? Because I honestly think another marquee matchup is the Bears Commanders.
Well, that
First,
was what I had in the marquee matchups, but then again, we forgot that,
doesn't
I
matter.
forgot that.
It,
Okay,
to
then
me
we'll
that
leave it in there.
to
Let's
me
leave
that
it in
doesn't
there.
matter.
So our last marquee matchup is in fact Bears at Commanders, Casino. And yeah, no Jaden Daniels. Bears 4-2 at 5-2 Commanders with Marcus Mariota. Who you picking?
I'm going to pick the Bears, but I will be cheering my ass off for the Commanders. I Yes, Marcus Mariota had a good game last week. I just don't trust him against this type of a caliber of a defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where the demarcation line rests for this team right now, which is
I mean, because last week it was the Panthers. That's totally different defense than going up against this elite Bears defense.
yeah.
So,
Also Bears coming off a bye, so we're
yep, they're
also
they're they're rested, they're ready to go, they're hungry. So that's my only concern. I want the Commanders to win this game because I want them to continue rolling, but I do worry that the Bears without Jaden Daniels is going to eat up Marcus Mariota.
yeah. And also, I don't think I gave reasoning for the Bills Seahawks. I just think the Seahawks right now are a
You don't need to give
better.
reason. Just make
Yeah.
a call.
Yeah, I also just think the Bills, from what we've seen this season, lose to good teams. So I'm banking on that. Next up, Casino. Now we move on to our mid matchups. I only have two. I only have two mid matchups, and then the rest are miserable. Let's see if we looking at the schedule, you want to move any of the mid matchups or the miserable matchups up to mid. But mid matchups, I have Colts at Texans. And again, I only have this as a mid because we don't know what quarterback play we're going to get on the Colts side. Colts defense has looked spotty.
Their
And
defense
then,
is not good, and that's why I'm going Texans.
yeah, the last meeting these two teams had, it was 29-27. Texans won by 2. The Texans, like we talked about in the rankings, have dropped in kind of all the important categories. Colts kind of hanging around there offensively, but defensively, they're bottom of the league, 29th in total offense or 29th in total defense. Casino and I are both picking Texans, but this does feel like a trap game to me. It just does. I almost went Colts, but the Texans went out. Now, Casino, we move on to what I think is the middest of mid when it comes to mid matchups, and that's the Sunday night game, Cowboys at 49ers. Mid, mid. This
You
is mid.
know, yeah, you know what? There's talks about Debo being back, um, which would be insane to me because you just have fluid in your lungs. But
Which
sure.
also you did when we hung out a couple nights ago. You had fluid in your lungs. But go on.
Yeah. All right.
um,
I'm just
Stop
gonna
Casino distracts with that one.
yeah, I'm gonna pick the Niners on this because I just have no faith in the Cowboys whatsoever. And Brock Purdy, he can still get it done, and he's shown that he can get it done. He's not great, they're 3-4, but he's doing what he can. They're gonna get some pieces back on defense. I I think the Niners pull this off. Is it gonna be pretty? No. Cowboys are gonna be gritty about it, but I think the Niners will pull this off.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's also funny how Purdy gets nonstop shit on every other show but ours, and then Dak Prescott gets just ascended to like he's a top 10 quarterback in every quarterback conversation we have. And then you look at their numbers every season, they've played the same seasons. Purdy's numbers are better. And then this season again, where everybody's like, this is what we warned you about with Purdy. And then Dak Prescott, it's like he's the only shining bright spot for a struggling Cowboys team. Dak Prescott right now, 63% completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Brock Purdy, 64% completion percentage, 1,800 yards, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So again, they are almost identical across the board, except that Purdy has more yards and more touchdowns. But again, Dak
And
Prescott,
but
great
Dak has
quarterback.
people to throw to. Dak has somebody to hand the ball off to.
Well, that's a stretch. They have the 32nd ranked running attack in the league right now with the Cowboys. They have the worst running back room in the league and continue
Okay.
to every week.
He has somebody to throw to.
Yeah, but again, yeah, Dak Prescott has an elite top 3 wide receiver in the league. Brock Purdy is throwing to his third and fourth string wide receivers and George Kittle. And again, Purdy gets shit on, and Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback in the league. Okay. Cowboys 3-3, 49ers 4-4. I think after this game, 49ers will be 4-4, even though this could or technically is a revenge game for the Cowboys after losing to the Niners last year. So we'll see. Or no, not last year, 2 years ago, because last year they lost to the Packers. Last year was the 49ers went into Dallas and absolutely annihilated them. Remember, George Kittle had like the
Right.
Fuck Dallas
Yes.
shirt? Yes, which was awesome as an Eagles fan. Awesome. But next up, Casino, we now go to the miserable matchups. And on this spooky episode, there is the most miserable matchups we've ever had because we've only talked about a handful of games and now we have the rest of them. We're going to go quick through these because they're miserable because they're so one-sided. It's ridiculous. First up, with the miserable matchups, we have Vikings at Rams on Thursday Night Football tonight. Vikings 5-1, Rams 2-4. Maybe an audition for Stafford for his new team.
I know that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Vikings, they just played the Lions. They got beat up." A lot of teams who play the Lions don't play well the next game. Vikings are also coming off of a short week. They only have 4 days to prepare. Like, I get all of that. I get all of that, but the Rams just aren't going to get it done. Vikings.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. They would be the
They got
first
they got a
team.
fresh TJ Hawkinson coming in. You're good.
Yeah, they would be the first team to win the week after playing the Lions, which is crazy and just shows you how physical the
And I think
Lions
they'll
play.
and I think they'll do it.
I do as well. I think they will. It's just the only thing that can beat them is good coaching and a quarterback, which both the Rams have. So there's a chance. I'm not saying there's not a chance. I'm telling you, there's a chance. Next up, Ravens at Browns. Casino. Ravens 5-2, Browns 1-6, but they will be playing with Jameis Winston at starting quarterback. So that'll at least be fun to watch.
Ravens roll.
Ravens roll. You should have said Ravens flock or quote the Raven nevermore. Come on, Casino. We're spooky today. Spooky. But Ravens win. Yeah, quote the Ravens nevermore. The Browns. I was gonna make a joke. I'll move on. Next up, Titans at Lions. Casino 1-5 Titans at Lions 5-1.
Blowout of the week.
Shockingly,
Blowout of the week.
Titans still have the number 1 defense in the league.
Blowout of the week.
Yeah, I'm also going Titans, or I'm not Titans. I'm also going Lions. Not my blowout of the week. You know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think my blowout of the week's going to be 49ers over Cowboys. I think they do it again, and it'll be really funny. because it'll be on Sunday Night Football. Next up, Casino. But yeah, we're both picking Lions on that one. Next up, Packers at Jaguars. Finally, the Jaguars get to play a game in the United States. They get to play a game in Jacksonville, which who would have thought the Jacksonville Jaguars never played a home game in Jacksonville?
Right.
Uh,
So with that being said, Jaguars are on the road here.
no, they're not.
Packers, yeah, they are.
It's
They're
it's
they're
Are they still in London?
no, they're the London Jackson. They're the
Oh,
London
oh,
Jaguars.
joke went right over my head.
Yeah.
But go on,
So
Casino.
so they're on the road here. They're doing a destination game in Jacksonville. Packers are going to win this game.
Yeah, Packers look like they finally have momentum back on their side and are just going to
Packers are going to
roll.
thump them.
Yeah, they look like they're going to rattle off the next couple ones, but Packers with me as well. Next up, Casino. Cardinals at Dolphins.
I don't care that Tua's coming back. Cardinals are going to win this game.
So I was going to ask, is Tua officially back for this game?
From what I have read up on as of an hour ago, yes. And yep, I don't care. Cardinals are going to win this game.
So this is going to be my upset pick of the week, Casino. I think
Well,
the Dolphins pull this off.
that's not an upset. Miami's favorite 3.5.
Oh,
This is my upset of the week. Cardinals.
this is
Dolphins.
your upset of the week. All right. I'm tired of picking the Cardinals because every week I pick them, they lose. Every week I don't pick them, they win. So for Casino's sake, that's probably going to happen. But I think the Dolphins, Tua, again, has been resting for a month. As long as he doesn't dive headfirst into somebody's knee, he should be fine. So I'm picking Dolphins in Tua's return game. Next up, your team plays the Jets at home. Drake May has looked good in the limited time we've seen him. Are you picking the upset, Casino?
No.
Yeah, we're both picking Jets.
Drake
Jets,
May will have a fine game, but they were not going to win. They're
Jets,
soft. They're soft.
that is true. And they hate their coach. And their coach might be fired after
That's
this.
casino corner shit. Shut up.
Okay. Next up, we're just keeping rolling right here. Saints at Chargers, Casino. No Derek Carr, or else this would have been a mid matchup. Instead, we get Desmond Ritter. 2-5 Saints at 3-3 Chargers. I think this is the Chargers game where they finally start getting momentum
Well,
on their
here's the
side.
thing. I like Justin Herbert and Coach Harbaugh. They are the only reason this team is 3-3.
Yeah.
Like,
well, their defense isn't bad. It's not bad.
That's sure, but they've done everything they can. I know that we have the hate on the Justin Herbert thing. You weigh more than me. For me, I'm just like, okay, you got to do something finally. But this team, it's still rebuilding. So we knew that they weren't going to be great offensively. They were just going to be ground pound, tough as nails kind of team. So they're going to get it done. They beat the Saints.
This is the team that should have traded for Hopkins. Chargers should have traded for Hopkins because their leading wide receiver right now is McConkey. And then it's exactly. And then it's followed by Disley, their tight end.
Who?
Dobbins and Edwards have combined for almost 600 yards. So their running attack, even though it's ranked 23rd in the league, I think is better than that. Their passing offense, 29th in the league, but that's just because the yards are low. Herbert having a sneakily good season with 65% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception.
That's
Their defense.
Like, he's the only really saving grace, him and the coaching.
Well, you say that, but their defense is 4th overall in the league. So their defense is elite. They just don't score points. They just have no playmakers on offense other than Herbert. So let's move on. We're both picking the Chargers on that one. For the Saints, it's what's happened with so many teams, even in that division, but especially the NFL, which is injuries. Injuries have just sidelined so many teams this
wonder
season.
if it's the turf.
I mean, probably. But next up, my pick for worst game of the week, Panthers at Broncos. 1-6 Panthers at 4-3 Broncos. This also could potentially be blowout of the week.
Yeah, this is going to be a thumper.
Anytime somebody pays the Panthers, it feels like it's blowout of the week.
Well, with this one also, Bryce Young is going back into the game. He will be playing because the car accident, and thankfully everybody's fine. But Andy Dalton and his family had where he basically really messed up his throwing finger. So like it's gonna be fine, but he like jammed it with the steering wheel. Essentially, basically, is what I've heard. Um, so it'll heal up, but and everybody's safe. His kids are safe. All that's fine. But they will be putting Bryce Young, and yeah, he's gonna get worked by that defense.
Yeah. Completely agree. I've seen nothing from Bryce Young in any game he's ever played to make him look good, at least in the pros. In college, he was good. Next up, also in contention for worst game of the week, Casino 6-0 Chiefs at Raiders 2-5. The last time the Chiefs lost was to the
To the
Raiders.
Raiders in last December. It happened.
And then all the Raiders did was talk shit about the Chiefs and act like they now had the blueprint to beat the Chiefs. So the Chiefs now, of
Let's do it.
course.
Raiders, let's go. No, I'm
Yeah.
picking the Chiefs.
So this is going to be, I mean, the Chiefs, if I hated the merry-go-round play, this is going to be the game where the Chiefs emerge as the Chiefs and get right on board to just looking great offensively, because they're going to pull every trick they have in the book to just annihilate the Raiders. This is, you know what? I'm switching my blowout of the week. This is going to be blowout of the week, and we're going to see the dumbest shit we've ever seen in this game. And the Raiders are going to walk away from this game being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have talked shit last year. This is going to be embarrassing. This is my blowout of the week, Casino. Now our last miserable matchup. Boy, we've had a lot of them. Giants at Steelers Monday night. 2-5 Giants at 5-2 Steelers. Neither of these teams, even though Steelers are really good, not really fun to watch.
No.
Kind of a boring watch. That being said, I'm still going Steelers because again, Giants defense is decent.
Dang.
What's the line on this?
-6 for Pitt. We're both going Pitt.
What was your damn for?
Well, let's get to Casino's Corner real quick before my wife gets home and I can.
All right. Now Casino's Corner is upon us, and I have an intro for you. So, Casino's Corner, let's enter it right now. Please hold as my thing goes up. You're about to enter a room. The only way to unlock it is with the key hidden in spite of your wife. But once in the room, it's filled with the sound of children, your children. A sound like a broken record, forever sounding, never ending, never stopping. The room so devoid of edges it has no points. It's rounded like the sleek curvature of a rocket, red in color. A place so devious and devoid of humanity, all who enters in it turns their back to the outside world at the whim of a witch. This is Casino's Corner.
God damn.
We're in Casino's Corner. Hit us with it.
All right. Well, that gasp for me was the NHL. We're moving over there because the season has started. We have one of my favorite players for the Golden Knights just signed a 7-year extension for $51.9 million with the defensive Shea Theodore. Outstanding. I'm really happy about that. Fucking cool. So before we get into the NHL, let's get into a couple other fun things that we have to go with. So recently fired Jets head coach Robert Saleh. I don't know if you heard about this. He ended up at the Green Bay Packers practice on Wednesday, and he was just helping out the team's offense by providing a defensive perspective. And Matt LaFleur was asked about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's just a friend. He's just coming out. He's a friend of the organization." You don't just go, especially a defensive coach, going in there and giving perspective on an offensive on the other team's offense. Like, you don't do that. This has Robert Saleh going to Green Bay, probably not this year, but going to Green Bay next year and being a coach of some sort for the Green Bay Packers. I think they wanted to make it very public and very, hey, looky, Robert Saleh is not a bad guy. Aaron Rodgers got, this is like a big fuck you to Aaron Rodgers in my sense. And I love every second of it, to be honest, because I don't think Robert Saleh, is he a great head coach? No. Is he a great defensive coach? Yeah, I think so. And I do think a lot of these losses, especially the London loss, was on Rodgers, not on Robert Saleh. So I think Robert Saleh going over there and publicly being like, "Hey, I'm on the sideline at the Green Bay Packers. I'm helping the offense by giving a defensive perspective." Like that's a big fuck you, and I love every second of it. So that happened. We did conclude. Moving on, we did conclude the WNBA finals. I'm sure that nobody knew that and nobody cared. Um, but I will say, and I was trying to allude to it the other day about the all of the different bullshit refereeing that we've had. There was some really, really bad refereeing to where how the NBA and I have complaints with the NBA where like, anything could be a foul. Well, they made that really, really apparent. And they really wanted New York to win this. Like it is a bad, bad look. Like if you watch, I know you won't, but if you watch those highlights of the game and you watch the fouls that were being called in favor for New York when the Lynx were dominating for the most of that series, I was wrong. The Lynx looked really good and really aggressive, but the games that the Liberty won were due to a lot of questionable officiating, especially in Game 5. So, yeah, not great look. And the Lynx head coach, she's calling them out for it. She's not hiding behind any of it, and everybody's agreeing with her. So it's not like it's a bad take or a bad look because everybody agrees. Like everybody agrees. So that's pretty insane. Also, the WNBA, they did do their holdouts, and they're waiting. They had a they had oh my gosh, why am I their collective bargaining agreement and all of that stuff, where they had it for 2 more years and they decided to opt out of it because everybody was focused on the WNBA this year. Caitlin Clark coming into the league, we talked about it, a while back with Clark coming in and that transition from college to WNBA, that it was going to put a spotlight on it, and it did. Like revenue and everything went up, viewership went up, TV deals went up, but it's not enough for the players, and they are making that known, especially with how much WNBA has grown just in this single year. So they're on a holdout. We'll see how that plays out going into the next season. So that's your double WNBA. Then we are moving over. Let's get into just some NHL. I know that I had a whole pulled up here. Go to my phone. As I save some stuff. Boom. We'll talk about just real quick about the divisions and who's expected to win the cup and where everybody's kind of standing right now. So a lot of people and my picks are pretty much the exact same of what they all of you'll see here. There's a whole list of professionals that are doing their picks for every division, and I agree. So what you have with the Atlantic Division coming out of there, this is the one where I differ. The total is where the Panthers are expected to win that division, right behind the Maple Leafs. I think the Panthers are going to have a fall off season, even though not crazy, but even though they um, just won the Stanley Cup. I think the Maple Leafs will win the regular season. However, Maple Leafs will do what they do best. They will lose in the postseason, as always. And then in the Metro Division, you have the Rangers, and that's a pretty much of a landslide. Rangers are expected to win and outlast the Devils. For that division, we have the Central Division. This is where it gets pretty heavy, like over into the Western Conference. The Stars are expected to annihilate everybody. The closest team that was supposed to beat them was going to be the Avalanche, but the Avalanche have not started this season well. And then my wife just got home. And then over in the Pacific, it is pretty much a slap in the face to everybody. Only 2 teams, the Kings got 1 vote and the Knights got 1 vote. 21 other votes went to the Oilers. The Oilers are expected to dominate that as well. So with my predictions, I do think though, even though the Oilers look good and they're supposed to dominate the Pacific, I think it's going to be setting up for a Rangers Stars NHL Cup Finals. I think the Stars finally get there, but I do not see them winning. I think the Rangers are just too good. They loaded up this year. I think the Rangers will win the Stanley Cup this year, and good on them. Good on them. So that's what Casino's Corner.
That we are closing up Casino's Corner. Great Casino's Corner right there. Maybe the best one ever.
Probably.
This, however, is the end of the podcast. We will see you Sunday for the solo show, and then Casino and I will be back here Sunday on Tuesday to review
Tuesday.
everything that happened in the weekend of sports. We're also going to be adding more NBA and NHL talk to the show now that those are in full swing. Also, World Series starts tomorrow. Both Casino and I will be rooting for the Dodgers. So yeah. Anything else before we get out of here, Casino?
Ooh.
That was spooky. Yeah, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. Adios.